Hey everyone, welcome back to our Behind Her Brand Leadership Series. As you all know, we have been spending this week interviewing some amazing women. I always use that word amazing because they really are,
Mhm.
who are so experienced, who have so much wisdom, who are fun, who really and truly live life, and they have so much that they can share with each of us. And today I'm excited to bring and introduce to some Kim Dudash. And before I officially introduce her, we just finished talking before we got on the camera. About she did a world travel trip, y'all. And if after this, I want you guys to go hop over to her Facebook and you will be able to get a glimpse of the world through her gorgeous pictures from Africa, India, etc. Can you,
Yeah.
so many of us say that we want to see the world. Kim had a chance to really see so many beautiful parts of it. And there's a lesson even in that I'm going to ask her about because I think it's so amazing about unplugging and experiencing new things. So before we jump into all that, Kim, welcome to our Leadership Talk series.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Well, first, before anything, I would love to ask you to tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, just a little bit about who Kim is.
Sure. So I'm located in East Tennessee, beautiful East Tennessee at the foothill of the Smoky Mountains. So my background is in human resources, operations management, in lots of different industries. That's really where I came from. And about I guess the my favorite part of being in leadership within an organization was really the development of leaders, and so that's really my passion. And I just decided about I guess now it's almost 7 years ago, I went out
Mhm.
on my own and started my own coaching practice. And I work with leaders, executive leaders. I work with teams of leaders just to help them really identify maybe the things that are holding them back from being as effective as they could be. You know, there's so many habits of mind that we have. We don't even realize some of the things that really get in our way. So I love working with leaders to help them identify those things. And um, yeah, I'm really passionate about what I do, and that's really, I guess, I met you in that
Mhm.
sort of circle
Yeah.
of colleagues with similar interests, and that's been a true blessing. So yeah,
Yeah.
and like I said, I live in East Tennessee. I'm married, and we have a farm. We sell
Mhm.
grass-fed beef, and so I live out in the country, and I have two new grandbabies that are visiting me right now.
Oh,
So yeah, my life is full, and I'm very happy
yeah.
about it.
I love that. I love that. Well, first let me ask you this. So what made you passionate about getting into this type of work with and working with leaders?
I guess, Kim, it's that one thing that I've noticed is all things being equal within organizations that are within the same industry, let's say,
Mhm.
all things being equal, the one thing that sets an organization apart from others is their leadership. And
Yes.
so I really just, I think, first of all, many of us don't understand what leadership really is, it does make such a difference when you have good quality leaders that are
Mhm.
vision driven,
Right.
as our friend Kieran Hilton would say, and recognizing that what their purpose is. And so I just saw that businesses that have strong leadership just
Mhm.
are perform so much more effectively. They're more profitable. And so that I just became passionate about it because I saw that when we invest in ourselves, what a difference it can make, not just in our own lives, but the lives of those that are around us, whether it's our personal life or our professional life. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I just became passionate in helping people reach those goals.
So what would you say are some qualities that makes a leader really effective in their position?
I think authenticity is a great quality, and of course, honesty, trustworthiness, and really, it's more of I think what I've found is if you can begin to understand that most of us are led by this external locus of control. We're so concerned about what is going on outside here, right? And so we're letting that guide us. And if we
Mhm.
can turn that around and realize that the real real power comes when we have an internal locus of control.
Yes.
And I call that, many of us and a lot of organizations focus on what I would call the outer game of leadership. It's
Yes.
the behaviors, so we're trying to control and dance around and make sure our behavior is on track. But the reality is we need to be focused more on what I would call the inner game of leadership.
Yeah.
What's going on inside of us? What's driving us? What are our motivations, right?
Okay.
Because what's going on in here is
Mhm.
really informing what goes on in that outer game. And so what I like to say is I am helping leaders refine their leadership from the inside out. Right.
I love that inner game of leadership. That could be a book.
It
I like that.
really could be. I mean, really, and I think if you think about it, most organizations only focus on that outer game. I need you to fix these things, but what they don't help with is I don't know how to do
Mhm.
that because
Yeah.
I don't even realize what is going on. I don't really know what is, I'm just uh, we go on autopilot, right? And
Mhm.
lots of reactions that we have and responses that we have that are just
Yeah.
autopilot, and we don't realize how it's running the show.
Yeah.
And so, if we can work on that inner game, then
That'd
we
be
can have a little more control over how we respond versus react.
very
So,
true.
yeah.
So if I'm sitting here saying, okay, that sounds like me, that I'm a leader that I'm not really understanding, that I'm operating from different sets of not so much my inner, but more of the outer. What would be
Mhm.
like the one first step that I could make to making an adjustment or improving in that particular area?
I think the key, the first step is to really become more self-aware.
Mhm.
Invest in yourself
Yeah.
to learn more about yourself, right? And get some help
Yeah.
from a coach or someone that you trust to help you become more self-aware, to see yourself more clearly, because often we don't know how we are truly showing up in our lives every day, right?
Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
we really don't know how we're being experienced by other people. So
Mhm.
increasing your self-awareness, and does that mean that I am this expert that knows it all? No, I'm not. I use some really good, solid, world class
Yeah.
tools and assessments to help my clients be able to have a real good foundational look at themselves, right? To see
Yeah.
themselves for what's really
Mhm.
happening, so that we have a good place to start when we start a coaching engagement, and we can actually go from there and make a decision about, okay, knowing
Mhm.
all of this, what do we want to focus on first, right?
Yeah.
What's going to make the biggest impact on your effectiveness as a leader if we can focus in this area? And then help them to create strategies for how to do that, and
Mhm.
encouraging them to practice those strategies and holding them accountable. So yeah, I think self-awareness though is the number one key. Yeah.
I've learned people in your position who really love cultivating leaders have had experiences in on the other side of it too, where you've learned and had different relationship with different leaders. Can you
Yeah.
share a time where maybe you were being led by someone that maybe it was a challenging situation, maybe, and how you were able to um, affect change in that situation?
Sure. I think yeah, we've all worked for
Hmm.
leaders that are, and actually, I think some of the things that I have learned the most about what I want to be as a leader came from working from someone who, I don't want to do that. I don't want, but how did I navigate that? I think it's all about mindset,
Okay.
Kim. I think that we have a choice of whether to fall into that victim mindset of,
Hmm.
the whole world's against me, this situation is against me, or we can choose to look at it and, like I said, take it and say, okay, this is a challenging situation.
Hmm.
How can I turn this around to be something that will actually work in my favor, right? And then being a challenger, um, even to my boss, not in a negative way, but to maybe communicate in a way to let them know how things are not working, just
Hmm.
but not coming at it from that victim mindset, but of
Exactly.
more of a creator mindset, right? To be able to talk about it in a positive way. I think if we're in a situation with someone that we're working for that's not working well, and we're not communicating how that's affecting us,
Mhm.
then we're actually adding to the problem. And so, and then there are situations, let's just face it, that sometimes it's just not going to work. And
Right.
you have to look at it and say, okay, what are the things that I truly value?
Yeah.
What is it what is my purpose? Am I in the right place? And you'll
Mhm.
know if you're in the right place or not, because if your values align with the organization, I believe that you will feel it in your gut. And if your values do not align with the organization, you'll feel that in your gut. And you just need to ask yourself, maybe I'm not in the right place. Maybe
Yeah.
this is, that doesn't mean that it's a bad organization. It might just mean that it's not for you. So,
I love that you said that because I think sometimes that's one of the cornerstones of all of this is taking self-responsibility and also being self-aware of
yeah,
what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, and then also cultivating that space to articulate that to that leader, or even just being very honest with yourself, like, okay, this is just not working for me, or
yeah.
have you done everything you can to make it work? So it's like two different sides of the coin, but having those assessments are so important, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think so many times we are in that situation, and like you said, you do everything that you can possibly do, right? But there comes a time when maybe this just isn't working. And
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that you're bad or that there's anything wrong with you necessarily. And it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with that other person. It just doesn't fit, right? And too often I think we try to place blame on either
Mhm.
ourselves or on someone else. And sometimes it
Yeah,
just doesn't work. It's just not the
exactly.
path, right?
Oh, and that's okay
Yeah.
to say that too. And it's
It's
okay to
okay
accept
to
it.
say that. Exactly. It doesn't mean you failed. Yeah, I guess that's the thing, right? And it doesn't mean we failed. And again, I think that goes back to that wanting to make sure that we are showing up in a certain way within the world because of what everybody else is expecting or what everyone else is thinking. And if we can turn it around to where we're,
Mhm.
what is my purpose, and
Yeah,
what is it that I'm to bring, and not be so worried about everyone else.
yeah.
Yeah.
You've been using a word a couple of times, and I really want to kind of talk about it because I know a good effective leadership has a sense of purpose. So
Yes.
when you work with leaders, I'm sure you have from a range of different sides of it. If there's a leader that feels like I'm leading, I'm running teams, but I don't feel like I have a sense of compass, purpose, or direction, what can they do? Because sometimes that could be something that can hinder how effective they show up every day.
Absolutely. One of the first things that I work on with my clients, Kim, is actually spending some time to determine what are the things that are my core values, right?
Mm,
And if it's difficult, a lot of people have never taken the time to really think through what are the things that I value,
yeah,
and you really can't understand your purpose until you know what you value. So I would say if there's a leader that is watching, I would say take some time to really think through what are the things that I value,
yeah,
that
I love
are core to my being, right? And that's going to help you understand
it.
what your purpose is.
Yeah.
What are the things that really motivate you and really get you excited, right? And what are the things that, like for instance, being a part of an organization that allows you to be
Mhm.
transparent or be authentic, and
Right.
what are the things that really, and if you're looking to be an entrepreneur and you're wondering what is my purpose, my passion, I think still go back to that, spending some time. And your core values are not something that you're going to be able to sit down in one sitting and say, oh, it's this.
Exactly.
It takes a lot of reflection, and again, that self-awareness, right?
Mhm.
Spend a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month, just, every day thinking through what are the things that I truly value, and
Yeah.
then go from there in search of your purpose.
And I love that you share that because I think sometimes when we go to different events and functions, people say, write down all your values. And it can make people feel a bit like stuck because
Yes.
they need that time and that space to really look at what is it that I value. Because I find that as I go to different seasons of life, my values sometimes shift. There's different things I
Absolutely.
value more now than I did in my 20s. I'm not all about like hustling and trying to make things work. In my 20s, that made sense, no kids, all of that. But now I value family time so much. I value my
Yes.
personal time so much more differently. And I look at just how I'm constructing my businesses and my day to day around the things that really are important to me. And I
Yeah.
find that it's okay. And I think sometimes people don't realize this. I've heard someone say this before, that um, she had the same values that she's always had through her whole life. And I kept thinking, yeah, but you change and you grow differently. So values tend to shift. And it's good to reflect, like you said, on where I'm at today and
Yep.
what am I valuing today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, so often what I find when I'm working, and it doesn't matter what level of leadership folks
Yeah.
are in. I mean, I've worked with people who are, in a management level position in the organization. I've worked with the CEOs of organizations. And
Yeah.
honestly, I've worked with some CEOs who had never taken the time. They've been on that hamster wheel of just achieving, 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 achieving.
Yeah.
And they've never stopped to consider, what are my core values,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And like I said, it's not going to happen overnight, especially if you've reached, adulthood and you've never really taken the time. It's not something you're going to be able to do overnight. So give yourself some grace and be
Mm-hmm.
patient and allow yourself to really think through, what are the things that I value?
Yeah.
Because that's where your purpose lies.
It really
And
does.
it doesn't have anything to do with this outer game of achievement. It has everything to do with that inner game of,
Yeah.
what is my driver? What is my, what does my soul feel, right? That's what that is about.
I'm telling you, there's something there at the inner game of leadership.
It's a thing. It
Yeah,
is.
it really is.
It really is. Thinking about the way we think about things, thinking about the way we relate to other people. We don't ever take the time to do that. We only think about how to do, and I think we should spend some time thinking about how to just be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So speaking of that, because you just came off of an amazing trip, and I know you were able to travel and work a little bit. So talk to me a little bit about the importance of really and truly unplugging, because I know we all know about it, but not everyone practices it and really understands the
Yeah.
value of what it can do for you as a leader, but also just as a person, period. So
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about that.
So, yeah, you and I were just talking about this. So, I
Mhm.
was able to go on this amazing trip around the world. And one of the things, you're right, taking the time to just unplug is so important. But I didn't realize how challenging it is to completely unplug until I was completely unplugged. I mean, I really didn't have an option, right? And it was so rejuvenating and
Mhm.
peaceful, and just all of the noise that we are hearing in the media and in our communities, especially right now in this turbulent time, in our election cycles, and
Mhm.
the noise is always there, always there, always there. And some of the things that I've talked about today in terms of what you can do to really, be a more effective leader, it's going to
Mhm.
require you to be able to unplug and actually take a look deep inside, right? And to let go of all this noise. It's so important to spend a few minutes, if you can, every day, just to practice breathing, and that's hard. If you don't do it, it's a challenging thing to do. So I would encourage people just to take, if you can, start with 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If you can't even do 5 minutes, take 3, right?
Yeah.
And just sit and breathe. Maybe
Mhm.
if you enjoy music, listen to just soft music, or if you're one who loves to meditate and pray, just spend that time
Mhm.
in meditation and prayer. And if you have struggles with thoughts that pop in, and you want to hang on to, you're like, I can't sit there quietly. Just recognize those thoughts and then let them pass on by. Just don't latch onto them, right? Just take that time to just breathe and just feel things in your body. It's just so, so important. It
Yeah.
brings us clarity. Um, right. It does. It brings us clarity. It helps us to be able to think uh, think through things more fully.
Mhm. And
So,
as you were
yeah.
talking, I was thinking how, and you made a good statement here. If it's thoughts keep running through your head, and it's important to kind of like let them keep flowing. But when
Yeah.
you also look at it too, sometimes it's hard for us to be still.
Yeah.
because we're in such an environment where it's like go go go, do meetings, do this, do that. And it's funny when people always say to me like, "Oh, you must be so busy," and Charles laughs all the time because he's like, they have no idea how like clean my days are. Like I only do so much for a period of time, and then when my kids come home, I am mom, and I'm
Yep.
making dinner, and we're sitting down and just relaxing. It's not, and I used to be that go 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 where I could not even, like you said,
Yeah.
be still for 5 minutes. And when I realized that for me, Kim, I was like, okay, if I can't just be still and I can't stop checking my phone, something is off. And I learned that a few years ago, and I realized I gotta pause and really
Yeah.
disconnect. And it's now become part of my lifestyle of unplugging and disconnecting.
Yeah. And don't you think, Kim, when you take the time to do that,
Hmm.
then yeah, you are more in a habit of realizing when you're in this frantic state, right? And
Yes.
you can intentionally
Yes.
slow things down,
Yes. Yes.
right? And I think
Game
that
changer.
when you can intentionally slow things down, then you can do things with more clarity. You can, I don't know what the word is
What
that
it
I'm looking
is.
for, but yeah,
Well,
I
it's,
mean, it's everything is more intentional, right? And then the time that you're spending with your children, you're spending with your children,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. And I've never posted online that time is just flying by, and I feel like I'm losing time, because I honestly don't feel that way. I feel like I've been really good with my time with my kids.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've always been perfect when they're really, really young, but by the time they can recognize, time, and and they can communicate, yeah, I've been very intentional about spending time because I want to unplug. I want to make sure I'm,
Yeah.
I'm there for those moments. And I can always tell, like you said, like when you're out of balance and things are getting kind of hectic, I can at least say, "Oh, wait a minute, hold up." I need to kind of cut back or reorganize so that way I can stay focused, because that matters to me a lot. So I
Yeah.
used to be a workaholic. So I was like, I don't want to go back to that place again.
And isn't it funny, Kim, when you're in that place of being a workaholic, because I was there too. I totally get that, totally. But when you're in that place, it's like it seems like time flies by because you're never really present to
Yes,
anything, right?
yes,
So it's just mindless.
yeah,
But when you take the time to intentionally unplug, and by the way, it is going to be hard in the beginning, and that's why you have to practice. They call it a practice for a reason. It's
that's so
something you're
true.
going to have to practice at. And just like a sport or anything else, as you practice, you get better. And time starts to not necessarily slow down, but
Right.
because you are present,
Hmm.
you notice more, right? You're noticing everything.
That
Yeah,
is so true. So true. Okay, so one more question. One more question. All right, I know that you believe in personal development and professional development.
I
How
do.
valuable is it? Because I see all the books behind you as well. How
Yeah.
valuable is is it? Do you feel, for executive leaders? Because I've met some executive leaders before in my past that felt like they've attained a certain status and they don't have to do anything else. And so I know that you work with all different
I do.
levels of leadership. What is the importance of really still pouring into yourself and growing yourself?
My feeling is as long as I'm on this earth, there's something for me to learn. And I think that, back in the 80s, they used to teach us that once you had reached a certain level of intelligence, that was as far as you could go. I think it was like age 21. Once you're never going to get any
Yeah.
smart. But now we know through neuroscience and about neuroplasticity. Basically,
Mhm.
our brains are malleable, so we can continue to learn until we leave this earth. And so I think it is important for us, especially as leaders, to continue
Mhm.
to learn and grow, because I'm telling you, this world is not staying the same. And
Mhm.
the level of complexity that we are facing as leaders,
Mhm.
it increases exponentially by the day. And if we
Mhm.
are not constantly trying to, I call it raising our level of consciousness,
Yeah.
then we're not going to be able to meet the complexity of those issues that we're
That.
facing. And we're not going to be able to lead effectively. So I think it is vitally important for us,
Mhm.
especially as leaders, to continue to grow and to learn and not get stuck in that, you know, this is what I learned and I'm right about this, because we've
Right.
learned even with science, right? We're seeing that things that our scientists believed were, set in stone. Now they're saying, oh, with new technology, we're realizing, wow, we were not exactly right about this. We've learned more. It's the
Mhm.
same thing with us. So as the world's complexity increases, we need to be learning and growing so that we can match that complexity and actually lead with
I love that.
a true vision. So, yeah.
So what's I did say the other one's gonna be the last question, but one more. So what would you say is a good resource for a leader to plug into just for the purposes of growing themselves?
What's a good resource that leaders could plug into? I tell you, there's a lot of great groups out there. For example, if you're just someone who wants to, you want to learn a lot of good information, there's a group called the Conscious Leadership Group.
Okay.
That you can actually plug into through the internet. They're fantastic. They have great resources. And then the Center for the Empowerment Dynamic is another great resource that I would encourage people to look into. Yeah, I mean, there's so much out there. And even, I would be willing to even put in the chat, a list of resources for people to check into just on their own. Because if you are a lifelong learner, if you're like me, I want to get my hands on everything that I can. Well, and even, you were talking about how important is it for leaders. Also, I think that it's equally, if not more important for coaches, such executive coaches such as myself, to constantly be learning and growing also, so that I can actually be a good resource for my clients. But yeah, there's so much good stuff out there.
No, I appreciate that because I heard and learned of the first one you mentioned, but the second one I never heard of.
Yeah.
And that's why I love doing these talks, because there's so much out there that there's no way
There
that
really is.
everyone will know anything. So I think it's always cool when someone can share something that is new, something that, I never heard that before, so we can check it out.
Yeah, there's a fantastic book that I would recommend reading. It's called The 3 Vital Questions. And it's by David Emerald. He actually is the director of the Center for the Empowerment Dynamic. And it's basically it's 3 vital questions, transforming workplace drama. So if you have drama in your life or your workplace, this is a fantastic book to read. So
that one. I know there's some people now that I've talked to this week that, oh my gosh, they could probably
that would be, yeah. Well, I just recently also became a trainer for the Center for the Empowerment Dynamic. I really believe in what they're doing. So yeah, that is a fantastic book. And it's not really, if you're the one that going, oh God, another book to read. It's not very big. It's one that's manageable, so and it's fun.
I love to read.
I do. Well, you can tell behind me, I love to read. So, and I have read most all of those, believe it or not. I think there's a couple in there that I haven't read. Yeah.
It keeps growing.
I'm a book nerd.
I so appreciate you just sharing all your insights, and definitely would love for you to share the resources.
I will.
But share with us how we can reach you, and if we want to plug into the things that you're doing.
Sure. So you can, I'm on all social media platforms. It's at Coach Kim Dudash. So I'd love to connect with you. Also, I have a website. It's dudashexecutivecoaching.com. I'd love to just connect with you. Send me a note. So yeah. And yeah, I think I'm on all social media. I'm not on TikTok, but I'm on everything else.
Yeah.
So.
No, I get it.
Yes.
No, I appreciate it. We're going to make sure we share with everyone all the different ways to connect with you. And I forgot to mention in the beginning too, she's also one of our Behind Her Brand supporters. So
yes,
and we love everybody stuff while she was traveling the world. We were putting some new stuff out there so you guys can get to know who our supporters are. And I just want to thank you because you've been supporting us from day one. And I really believe
in what you're doing, and I think it's fantastic. And I think the world of you and all that you're doing. And you are an inspiration, Kim. So thank you. Appreciate your friendship.
Well, everyone, thank you again for joining us today. And I know that you got some good nuggets, and let us know. It's always helpful when we do these different talks for you to let us know what you gained from it, what you walked away with, so that we can continue bringing you phenomenal women such as like Kim. Now I got a cough, y'all. But thank y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day. And until our next leadership talk, make it a great day.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.